Hello, welcome, and thanks for tuning in to another of the British Society of Lifestyle Medicines in Conversation with. I'm Neil Bindemann, Director of External Affairs at BSLM, which, as you may already know, is a registered charity dedicated to supporting healthcare professionals in guiding their patients toward a way of life that optimizes their health and well-being. In this series of episodes, we aim to bring you engaging and informative conversations with both health professionals and the public or patients from around the world, covering a range of topics. The other day, I was delighted to be joined by Chris Freer, who I first got to know via an email exchange when he contacted the BSLM at the beginning of the year. Because of my background in neurosciences, I was particularly keen to connect with Chris and learn more about his interest in the society when he mentioned in his email that he used a lifestyle approach to successfully tackle a diagnosis of multiple sclerosis. So I started by asking Chris if he would just like to explain a little bit more about himself.
Thank you, Neil. Thank you. So my name's Chris Freer, and I'm director of a community interest company called Upbeat Life. I've been a businessman for most of my life, really, and back in 2002, I got diagnosed with a condition called multiple sclerosis. And this came after several years of going to my GP and being told that everything, all these weird and wonderful things that were happening to me was due to stress. I didn't feel particularly stressed that much at the time, but the background that I was in the license trade. I sort of, okay, I could go along with that. But 2002 came and I became very ill. I got taken into hospital, and then I found out via an MRI and a lumbar puncture that I have multiple sclerosis. This was quite a shock to me, really, and especially back then, all the information that you got about this condition was really negative. There was nothing out there that was anything positive, and you were told that it was just absolutely progressive, it will only get worse, and there were no cures. And I took this quite badly, and I started to enter into what I now realise was to start with anxiety, and then I fell into depression. And with my first marriage on the rocks and looking like it was going to come to an end, in May 2007, I had a serious attempt at taking my life. Actually, it was an unsuccessful attempt, but a serious attempt nevertheless. And that sort of started me on a different road, really. It has taken quite a long while for it to develop for me. But yeah, we can talk about that a little bit more. In 2008, after an enhanced MRI scan, my neurologist told me that I was now secondary progressive, which I'd actually believed I had been for quite some time.
And just for those people who are not aware, obviously secondary progressive MS is slightly, there are different forms of MS. Yeah. And secondary progressive is probably one of the more severe forms of the condition as well. So yeah.
Yes. And he told me that there was actually no medication that would be available for me, and that he would monitor me on a yearly basis. And he also suggested that I prepare my mind for a wheelchair by 2012, because the way it was progressing, in his opinion, that is where I would be.
And can I just come in at that point and ask you, that to me suggests that he didn't really give you much choice.
No choice at all. And it just reinforced for me all the negative messages that I'd accumulated over the years of Googling this condition and really getting, just negativity completely. And I have to be honest that that information that he gave me set me on a path to that wheelchair, really. And I found it easier and easier to retreat to that chair, to be quite honest. I suppose I was using it 50 or 60% of my time. But in 2010, a new lady came into my life, actually, and it was she was someone that we knew each other kind of when we was at secondary school, which, so you can imagine, it was quite a few years ago. And I started to get a bit of a different perspective on life, if you like, and I started to really research and try and search for positive stories around MS. And I have to say that I read a book. I can't quite remember what it was called, but it was something like MS and the Cure or something. And I started to read this, and I thought, do you know what? I could do this. I could do this, And I kept going for my yearly appointments to see my neurologist, dutifully in my wheelchair, until I started to fight back, and then I started to learn about the human body in a very amateur way. I'm no way a medical professional at all. I learned about exercise and movement, and I really started to study walking. And I found through a meditation technique that I was taught, that I found that I started to get movement back into my feet and my toes and stuff like that. And the person that taught me this said, that this is progress. And I went, yeah, I know. I don't know why this is happening. I'm told that nothing works. And they said, well, why does it work sometimes and not others then? And I went, oh, actually, do you know what? I'm going to see my neurologist. I'll ask him. And I did. Right. Yeah. And he didn't know either. And I thought, oh, there's something in this. If he doesn't know, there's something in it. And I really pursued this with a change in my mindset, a real determination. And I found that I was using that chair less and less and less. And
can I just ask you at that point, had you done anything else other than kind of the exercise, the mindset? Had you looked at any dietary aspects at that point?
Absolutely, yes. I mean, I did. It was a gradual change of diet, but I cut all forms of dairy out of my diet completely.
Was that based on something you had read?
Yes.
Right.
It was. I'd read about leaky gut syndrome.
Okay. And
when I looked at the profile of that, I realised that I fitted that profile really well. And in my naive way, I signed up for that. I believed it, and I cut dairy out of my life, and to this day I'm still dairy free, although I am experimenting at the moment with raw dairy, and I'm making kefir. Kefir, or however you say it. So,
well, I don't know. I may have got that wrong myself. So don't worry.
That's another story. But the last time I saw my neurologist, I walked into his surgery.
Yeah, I love this. This is great.
And he looked at me with sort of shock and looked down at his paperwork at his table. And he looked.
Can I just stop you there?
Yes.
You said a word which some people listening to this it's gone past them. You walked in there.
Yes, I did. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, I did.
You were in a wheelchair.
Yeah. I walked in there, and he looked at me and pointed at me with his finger and went, what drugs have I put you on? What drugs is it? You know, and I went, well, I'm not on any drugs, doctor. You said there was nothing you could do for me. And then he looked at me and he went, looked me right up and down, and he went, you look like you're getting better. What are you doing? And I said, well, I've changed my diet. I exercise regularly, and I've changed my mindset, and I use mindset approaches. And he completely dismissed that. And from that day to now, I've never seen him since.
Wow.
I ever see my MS nurses.
Yes.
Who are, I have to say, very, very interested in my journey and want to know what I'm doing. But I found it really quite disappointing that someone in such a powerful position didn't really want to know what I was doing to, and I do use this word and I in quite a lot of social media platforms, I do use the word, I've reversed MS.
Mm-hmm.
And I use that word because in my mind, the definition of reversing or it's actually regaining something. And I definitely have regained control over. I mean, look, I know that I'm going to be on this journey for the rest of my life. I understand that.
Mm-hmm.
But it's an enjoyable journey. I like it. You know?
Yeah, I can see. So one of the papers I sent you, Chris, and we will put the links up with this interview so people can download it. It's entitled Impact of Nutritional Intake in Function in People with Mild to Moderate Multiple Sclerosis. The conclusions they make from this research study are, and I quote, "These findings indicate better ambulation, daily function, and quality of life with increased fat intake, decreased carbohydrate intake, and increased intake of micronutrients, cholesterol, folate, iron, and magnesium in people with mild to moderate MS. It's a pilot study, but it does highlight the potential impact of diet on function and quality of life in multiple sclerosis." I'm just wondering, does any of what I've read out relate to anything you've had experience with?
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I've read that paper in my own way that I can understand it, you know, partially.
Mm-hmm.
I was very pleased to see in the references at the end of that reference to the Dr. Roy Swank, and it was the original MS diet, and he recommended cutting saturated fats to under 20 grams a day, but as low as possible, especially in the first year of diagnosis. So no red meats or anything like that. One of the things that I, in my naive way, if you like, is that I think they're talking about a keto diet, which cutting carbohydrates out of your diet and stuff like that. I think there's the possibility for weight loss as well.
Mm-hmm.
I would like to see a study that where they took someone's weight as well at the beginning of it and then at the end of it, and then using the EDSS scale for mobility. Because I will say this without a shadow of a doubt, that when I started my road to recovery, I was probably 13 stone, something.
Right.
And I sort of hover under 11 stone-ish, yeah? And as my weight came down, I found my mobility went up,
Mm-hmm.
yeah?
Mm-hmm.
And my fatigue levels went up, you know, well, not went up, I got
So
less.
improved. Your fatigue levels improved.
Yes, yeah. So, yeah, I mean, I read that study and I totally believe in getting really good fats into your diet, like good fish oils, avocado, which I follow myself.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's crucial, but
Mm-hmm.
I am meat free now. You know, my diet has changed so much. I eat fish, but I eat the best possible vegetables I can source, organic, you know.
I'll just add in, actually, I also follow the ketogenic diet myself, but I do have meats within mine, and I have a mix. So it's just, I know there are maybe people watching this, and the diet nutrition issue can sometimes, it's very personal in terms of the way people take their approaches, and I think it's important to make sure that we kind of give a balanced aspect and balanced message over the approach to diet as well. Clearly, some people they do well not having meats in their diet, but I do know of others who have the meats in their diets with a ketogenic diet as well, and they do perfectly well too. So it's just making sure we get a message that's balanced. We look at the BSLM, we look at all issues, all aspects, and I think that's quite a key issue that we look at. But I'm also interested in terms of the changes you made. One of the key areas that made a big difference for you, from the sounds of it, was the exercise and the assisted exercise aspect, because it kept your muscles moving, etc. as well.
Yeah. Yes, I mean, I was able to source assisted exercise equipment, which was something that even if you couldn't pedal the bike, it would move your limbs for you. And in fact, you know, one of our missions for Upbeat Life is to create a community wellbeing hub where this kind of equipment is available to people. I think also physiotherapy is essential, and I mean regular hands-on manipulative physiotherapy. I think that's crucial as well. And
interestingly, at a conference that's coming up in September, one of the speakers there is a physiotherapist who works in MS, Andrea Stennett.
Yes, I've heard of her.
You know Andrea, do you?
I've heard of her, yeah.
Yeah, you heard it. Okay, so she's planning to, as far as I can see from the program as well, because I've been in touch with her, she's going to be looking at the exercise issues of physiotherapy in MS as well. So that's great. It'll be interesting to see. I'd be interested to get your views when you hear her speaking on that as well. Now, in one of the other papers I sent over, it talks about psychoneuroimmunity and COVID-19. And stress is something that we know to have an important role in the interaction of the nervous system and our immune system. And of course, MS is believed to be caused by a form of autoimmunity. So I'd like to ask you, if you don't mind, do you notice, or have you noticed any difference when a stressful situation is introduced into your day or week in terms of MS related issues?
Yes, I 100% believe that stress is I think it's a major cause of a tremendous amount of illness, full stop. You know, I think I can answer your question, Neil, by saying that yes, definitely, if crazily, and I'm going to answer this question by going back in time a little bit. Yeah?
Okay.
Because what I found that if I got angry about something, a lot of my function came back because the adrenaline was running around my body, and yeah. But as soon as the adrenaline left my body, I was 10 times worse than I was before I got stressed. So yes, I do definitely think that stress plays a major part, but because I've grown in myself, and I've gained qualifications in several things that was able. I have a diploma in hypnotherapy. I have qualifications in mindfulness and NLP, and a lot of my work I do now is as a coach. I've learned ways and techniques to limit my stress, and it's something that I don't go through that door anymore. So
Yes.
no, yeah. One thing I'd like to say, Neil, is that the real big change came for me in my recovery, if you like, was when I separated myself from MS. And the way that I describe that is that MS became that best mate that you don't have to see for years, and you can pick it up right up where you left off. And when I separated myself, I was no longer Chris Freer with MS. I was Chris Freer who knew someone that's got it, kind of thing. And it was when I separated it from myself was when the biggest change came for me.
That's interesting. What do you mean by that, though? I'm just curious.
I no longer identified with the fact that I had MS. I separated myself from it.
Right.
No longer in control of me. It was no longer ever going to control me. I was in control of it. And that's when the big changes came for me.
And that is really, it's really interesting in terms of that aspect of control. Because for me, this aspect of lifestyle medicine is that you can reintroduce an aspect of control into your future to a certain degree in terms of your health and well-being, and making, if you're able to be guided, and this is where education comes in, is helping people to learn that they can have this element of control. Yeah.
It's some, in a way, as I've, I study all the time as best I can. And I believe that our bodies have been designed, as long as we've got the right nutrients that are going into it, our bodies are designed to heal themselves. And I think for me, what I'm trying to say is it's my thoughts that were holding me back.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I understand that.
My thoughts were holding me back.
Yeah.
And when I separated myself from it.
And what role, though, do you think the health professional played in that?
No role at all.
No, but what I'm meaning is in terms of what you said your thoughts were holding you back. But were any of those thoughts influenced historically by what you'd heard?
Yes, because I'd been told that it's incurable, it's progressive, and it only gets worse. And I'm sorry, that's not true. Because I'm probably healthier now with MS, if you like, than I ever was without it.
That's, Chris, that is just great to hear that. And I'm just going to say, when people are watching this, we've cut this part into the interview because we had a slight issue over the interview as we were going through it. But I have to say, I'm so pleased that you said you wanted to talk about this so that we could bring it back in, because I think that for me was a very personal, a very powerful message. So, thank you. That's great. And thank you again for doing this this interview. It's been great.
Thank you for giving me the opportunity, Neil. Thank you.